Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Miriam Haart here. You've done so many different things, built, I think, over 10 apps, hosted a course at Stanford on virtual reality, have a podcast, been in a, have a great TV show people love. So you've been, kind of all over and done a lot of things. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, when you were younger and growing up, did you aspire to kind of be an influencer and have a business and be in technology? Like, what were kind of your early steps into that area?
I would say that I didn't think about business in particular. I didn't think about entrepreneurship. I didn't know what that word meant until I was probably like 15 years old. To
Okay.
me, ever since I was young, I just loved to do things. I love to do things and I love to make things. So my childhood consisted of me taking like cardboard boxes and making rocket ships out of them or making little like ways to blow fan like wind on myself on a hot summer day, and I just liked building and this desire to build transformed into on a computer creating different like apps on the computer, and even before apps, I would just use my computer to make different designs on Microsoft Word, or make videos on iMovie, learn how to use Adobe After Effects when I was like 12, and kind of just stuff like that. I just always love to build.
Mhm. So did you try like starting your own business when you were younger? Did you kind of get into that at all?
I would say because of my environment, so like I grew up in a very religious community, that wasn't really a thing at all that was like normalized that people did. I didn't know that I was allowed to do that. So I kind of found my own way in terms of like creating businesses. That was something that I really got into once I moved out of my community and I was 16, finished high school early, moved to San Francisco and started going to computer science school. There I learned about entrepreneurship and there I was like, oh, people build apps to like make money and they build apps to like, start businesses. I've just been building apps and just putting them out under my dad's name because at the time I was under 18 and I couldn't have my own
Mm,
Apple developer account even, you know? And so it was really once I was like 17 that I got the itch to start businesses.
mhm.
Yeah.
And kind of how did you foray more into like the social media world? Like when did that really start?
So the social media world, that started around age 20, 21 when the TV show came out. And so prior to the show coming out, I really was not on social media that much. I didn't like using my phone. I was never on my phone. But it was really a tool that I use to like share any sort of message that I have, whether it's something that I'm developing, whether it's an idea like about like feminism, and that really only started once the show came out and I just got this huge influx of followers.
Mhm. So did you think the show would be as big of a success as it was? I mean, it kind of just took off like right away.
Yeah, I there's no way to know. I remember before coming out, like we saw my whole family saw all the episodes before it came out, so we knew it was coming out, and we didn't know if it was good. I remember like I would like tell a friend to come over to our apartment because we couldn't send the episodes to anybody or anything like that, and ask like a friend of mine who likes reality TV, what do you think? Because even myself, I don't watch reality TV. Like I don't even watch
Mhm.
TV that much in general. I'm like one of the most technology savvy, old-fashioned people that you'll ever meet for the most part. But yeah, so we would literally invite people over and be like, none of us watch reality TV. Like, is this good? And they would be like, yeah, it's good, but they're also our friends, so it didn't really count. So yeah, so we had no idea.
So how did you guys kind of get the show to happen? Was it just your mom pitched like the Netflix and said, "Hey, this is, I got this whole operation going on. This could be an interesting idea. We have good personalities in our family." Like, how did it all come together?
Honestly, for the most part, that's how it happened. Like it was really my mom saying that we have a really unique story where we came from this environment and we as especially as women like built our own lives up from the scratch, from the ground without any education, and became very successful. And so the story was worthwhile. We wanted to share it. And so she was the one who pitched production companies saying like, this is my family, this is my story. A production company, Jeff Jenkins Productions, that's who we built the show with. He pitched Netflix and was like, we're building the show. Do you want to host it? And then that's kind of how it happened. Yeah.
And how long was like the process, like this from start to actually getting the show going and filming?
It was long. I think that even the ideation process of like what exactly should the show look like? Should it be just them filming our lives, which is what ended up happening, or should it be some sort of more curated kind of like reality series, And so it was a long time in development. I would say a couple years really of like from,
Mm.
this would be interesting to like the final episode recorded.
How have you kind of dealt with like the change? Because now you're like a public figure. You have like there's a lot more of your life out there. Even in the show, there's a lot of like your life exposed. Has that been kind of hard for you, or has it been like an easy segue into it? Like, how have you dealt with that?
Well, now it's definitely my normal. Like, it seems weird. It seems more weird for me not to be a public figure now since it's been like 3 years since I've been in the public eye. Um, so I would say that it was strange in the beginning. I remember the first time I was recognized by somebody, and it was like the it was like a week after the show came out, and we had the show, the premiere party in New York City. It was at like it was outdoors, it was in the summertime, and somebody yelled my name, and I literally like, and I was like, and I thought that somebody like hurt themselves. Like I genuinely thought, I was ready to pull out my phone, call 911. Like I was like so ready, and I turned around and this girl's like, I love you. And I was like, what is happening? This is crazy. And she's like, can I take a photo? So then I like go up to her and I'm like smiling, like, okay, like, and yeah, I realize now when people yell my name that they're not dying. But that wasn't natural to me to not think that. Yeah.
So, it's kind of like progressed a lot, the show. Like there's been multiple, been major changes. Like, what are some of the things you kind of think would happen with like a potential season three? Like if you don't have to reveal anything, but like what are some like the major changes and how it's kind of the show happens?
Well, I won't talk about the show, but like the show's really a reflection of our lives, and
Hmm.
what's going on in our lives. And so what I can say about our lives is that right now, my mother is like she has Body by Julia Hart, which is the shapewear company that she recently launched. That's right now. There's a billboard on Times Square with the shapewear, and so that business is going really well. And so I would say we're all kind of doing. I have my own business. I have a tech agency, and I'm a consultant, and so I'm doing my thing, my mom's doing her thing. My sister right now is in Greece on like a brand partnership like deal. And so we're all kind of like built up after season 2 and everything that went down there. And so every season's kind of a reflection of where we are right now. And so
Hmm.
that's what I can say, I guess,
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
How do you manage your time? Like you have your studio currently, so how do you kind of make sure that you can handle that and the clients there while also filming or other things going on? Like how do you balance?
Yeah, it's not easy, but I will say that I'm one of those people who loves to work. Like I can't sit still. I just can't. I can't. I have to be moving. I have to be doing. Um, it's not like it's not that I can't focus because when I'm working, I'm like super focused, but it's just that I have to be always doing something. And so to me, this lifestyle of being very busy works only because I'm doing work that I actually enjoy and care about. If it was something that I didn't love, like this agency, I work with a team of all female engineers. I mostly build apps. It's all through word of mouth, like I mostly build apps and websites for female founders who just hear about me from other female founders. It's just, and so the things I'm building for them like are cool. Like I'm like, this is interesting. Hell yeah, I'm gonna build this for you. Like this is exciting. And so like that work is very fulfilling. My social media, I talk about empowerment, like positivity, like that to me is also meaningful. And then also on top of that, and on top of building, I'm also really into my studies. So right now I'm like auditing classes at NYU. I'm studying like biology, Chinese philosophy. And so like my time is so full. Like I wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. I'm like I work out almost every single day and I like just do, and I surround myself by people who are also like that. And so I co-work with my friends very frequently. And yeah, I love the lifestyle and I kind of just have a very structured way to live my life. The most unstructured time in terms of like how when I'm not super regimented is travel. So I also love traveling, and that's kind of like how I work is I'm working for like 3 months, 6 a.m. wake up, work out, do my work, and then like 3 weeks I'm just like, okay, peace, I'm going to Japan, and then I just do that, which I'm actually going to Japan, but it's for a conference I'll be speaking at. So there's also that. Yeah.
So you mentioned like you're building apps for other female founders, and I went through your LinkedIn a bit. You've done a bunch of different of your own apps too. Like, do you think that like your model currently is going to be just building kind of other people's apps, or like do you want to launch like a kind of your own tech company too and build your own company out of that?
So I do want to start my own company, and build my own tech product in particular, but not now. I think right now I'm in
Hmm.
this like phase of personal development. And so all my like my companies, like this app development agency, my consulting, these are all ways for me to provide value and like support myself, but also it doesn't sound a full-time like gig for me where I'm
Hmm.
like full in CEO of a company, like it's taking all my energy. It's more I'm managing businesses, and so I have more time to do my own thing, film. I have time to film. I have time to study because right now, like, really, what I'm focused on right now is growing myself. And so I'm studying. I want to go to Oxford. I'm applying there for a master's program. I'm not done school yet. Like my next 3 years, I want to be building my mind, learning more about the world. And then when I'm 27 or 28, that's when I want to start a company. Like I don't feel rushed to create a successful company like that yet. So I'm taking my time. Yeah.
Hmm. So you've kind of like studied a wide range of subjects. Like I think you did
Yeah.
something with neurology, and then now you're talking about like biology a bit, and like you've kind of been in a bunch of different places. That's just like your interests. You just have a lot of different interests, or is it just you kind of trying to figure out where the path is?
So I am a generalist, I don't want to choose a path. So if I had to choose a
Hmm.
path, it would be technology, engineering, but I want to understand this world. I think I just have this itch. There's this itch inside of me that wants to understand how things work, period. And that comes from this desire from when I was 5 years old and I love to build things. In order to build, you have to know, the pieces that come
Hmm.
together. And so I want to understand the pieces of the world. Like if this is a deep desire of mine, and so that's why I'm studying biology, psychology, philosophy, history, economics, like the list goes on just because I genuinely am curious and I just want to know. It's not for a particular career path. My career path will be in tech, but everything that I've learned up until this point has influenced the way that I think about things and I think about the world. And so I know that me studying biology and understanding how entropy works and heat and thermodynamics somehow is going to relate to some random project that I work on in a couple years from now.
Yeah, that definitely can. It also just helps with like your mindset and how you look at things too. Like the more you're exposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're really passionate also about AI, and like of course you've played with ChatGPT. Like, what do you think is kind of like the future of the AI space currently?
I mean, I think that it's one, very rapid, two, going to change the way that we communicate with each other. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, like in terms of AI, something that I've been really thinking about lately is its impacts on our democracy and our government. That's something that I'm really interested in terms of like the politics of AI. So, yes, I'm like coding with it and everything like that, and I think it's going to change the way that we work, and it's going to change the way that we communicate, and it's going to change the way that we gain information and knowledge. It's going to speed up a lot of our processes, blah, blah, blah. But I also am very curious about how it's going to affect our government, our democracy, our shared ethos as a country. Like in what ways is AI and technology going to be used to change the way that we interact with our government and our voting, and how we receive information and understand information and data. So that to me actually is really interesting. And that's why I'm going to Japan. There's a UN Internet Governance Forum, is what it's called, and I'll
Mm.
be representing the US as a youth representative to talk about my thoughts on all that on that space. So yeah.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to kind of see how it'll, be a part of it and kind of help shape how it evolves for sure. I think the governance is something that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to set parameters for what we should do and what's safe, and making sure that other countries aren't as maybe they're more competitive and we need to be able, but we're playing safer. It's a
Yeah.
very interesting problem.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just kind of like on a bit of a different subject, more like focused on like the Jewish topics. So one of the biggest things, right, in Judaism is marrying Jewish. It's like a
Hmm.
big thing, especially if you're Orthodox. Like, what are kind of your thoughts currently on marrying Jewish? Like, is it a priority to you?
So I don't even know if I want to get married. So I guess that's like step one is wanting to get married. Um, but I don't know. I think I like even being not religious. I remember like when I did think about it, I don't really think about it much now. I thought about when I was in Israel going to like Yad Vashem and like seeing the millions of Jews that were killed and like how we still haven't reached the number that of Jews in this world that we've had, almost 100 years ago. Um, made me want to marry Jewish because like, hey, like you tried to kill us, like no, I'm going to continue this nation. Not like that's literally the reason why. But now to be honest, like I don't even know if I want to get married. I don't know how I feel about any of that. I also am like queer, like doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Like so it's kind of complicated. So yeah, so I don't know. But I think that you should like I would want to marry for love, period. I think that's more important. And so I would say that trumps everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So how has it kind of been like going back to the Jewish community that you were a part of originally, visiting, or even just being part of the Jewish community in general? Like, have you kind of felt like they've been a little hostile to you? Like, how has kind of that relationship been?
I think that the Jewish community, I mean, like I'm wearing a small mug and David, a Star of David on my neck right now. I mean, like it's one of the most welcoming communities, I would say, to
Yeah.
me. Going to Israel, being in New York, everyone in New York like just knows Jewish stuff, like in the city, like all of my friends who are not religious are even in school, like I was in class and the professor's like, oh, it's Yom Kippur in a couple days, so you don't have to like finish your homework and just stuff like that. And so I would say that the Jewish community is so vast. There's so many different
Hmm.
kinds of Jews that exist in the Jewish community. And so the Jewish community as a whole, really inclusive of the religious and not religious, have actually been very warm to me, very supportive. And whenever I do go back to Muncie, which is where I'm from, I've had people come up to me and whisper in my ear, by the way, I wear pants, or like, by the way, like, I think what you're doing is really cool and stuff like that. And so it's like more hush hush, but I think there's a lot of approval and a lot of respect and admiration for the work that my family does. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Um,
Mhm.
so what would you say is kind of like the most memorable experience that you've had from this like recent Israel trip? Maybe something that gave you a deeper appreciation of the Jewish people or like, kind of a connection to them. Like, what would you say that would be?
Um, I mean, I just really love the sense of community that I got there. I love the weather, I love the beach, so there's that, but also the sense of community. I mean, like even in the tech scene, which I like lived in Stanford and San Francisco area for 7 years, and so I've been in Silicon Valley and I know what the tech scene's like there. Tel Aviv's tech scene is so inclusive. Everyone knows everybody. They're all genuinely like technically competing with each other, but also are supporting each other. And you feel it there. You feel the support. And so I love just that environment. And yeah, so I really like that.
Do you think you would kind of like start a tech startup in Israel? I mean, there's just so much going on in Tel Aviv.
I don't think I would just because like I'm more of US based, but I am thinking about living in Tel Aviv for a couple months and just doing my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd probably be a great time. I used to spend a lot of time in Tel Aviv too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, um, you kind of like you kind of are had like kind of an interesting you've had like kind of an interesting like transition in like the whole Jewish space of things overall like where do you feel like you kind of are at currently, and like do you think it's going to continue to change like your perspective on the on Jews and the Jewish people and your relationship with religion, or like do you think you're kind of happy with where you are?
I would say I'm very happy with where I am right now. The way I like relate to my Jewish identity is that it's a community that I'm a part of. It's a culture that I share with others. Like a shared history, a shared community, a shared story. And so I love that like unifying aspect to my like Jewish identity. In terms of the religion, I'm not religious still. In terms of like what I feel about all of that,
Yeah.
I have confronted like my what is my idea of spirituality? This is something that I asked myself like really
Hmm.
just this summer. Before now, I didn't feel comfortable asking myself that question because like I needed a break, Like I've been very religious most of my life, and so it was really only until this year that I hit a point where I was like, okay, I'm ready to like reconfront this, re-ask myself these questions, like how do I feel? And now my answers are mostly like spirituality to me is about connecting to the world, and I connect to the world by, you know, doing yoga, by climbing mountains, by just breathing in air and just like acknowledging how grateful I am for like eating good food and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it for
Hmm.
sure. Gratitude's super important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So, kind of like the relationship with that you have with your dad, has that like, has it been, something I think in the show at different points, it was kind of a little bit, it was a good relationship, and then it seems like there was some drama at times, but overall it was pretty steady. Is that like something that it's pretty similar, currently, and something that's like stayed the same, like he's a supportive person, of you.
Yeah, no, my dad's awesome. Like so supportive. I remember literally saying to him, I went to him for Rosh Hashanah just this past week, and I said to him, I was like, by the way, I might be shaving my head within the year. Just by the way, I'm thinking about it, And then he was like, and then just drop things like that. To be honest, it was like I was just curious what he would say, like, hmm. And, and he was just like, okay, cool. Like whatever makes you happy, Miriam. And I was like, and he's like shaving completely, like just out of curiosity. And I was like, no, like a boy cut, like I think it'd be cool just to run my hand through my head and not have hair there. And he was like, sounds great, whatever makes you happy. And like that's his personality. He's very much just whatever makes you happy, like do you. He's always a person that I call when like I just want support for something. So we're very close actually.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Like, are there certain things you kind of feel like you haven't done yet? Like you mentioned, like travel certain different places, launch something kind of in the tech space. Like, are there some things that are more short-term goals that you haven't done that you're like want to really do and you're going to launch soon?
So, I mean, my podcast season 2 is going to be like really big and different, so I'm excited for that to come out. But in terms of like the short-term goals, yeah, it's mostly traveling and studying. That's like kind of my goals right now. Long-term goals, I'm very interested in politics. I'm very interested in like this intersection between AI governance. I'm interested in starting my own company. So those are kind of like where the little seeds in my head that are like giving me direction are telling me to go. And so we'll see what that looks like, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all the questions that I have, Miriam. I appreciate you coming on. I think you have a really good story. You've inspired a lot of women, and people to enter into the technology space, take control of their lives. So, I'm
Thanks.
excited for whatever you'll do next.
Yeah, awesome. Great questions. It's great chatting with you.